Look at the Rashbam for just a moment. Amar Avuna, Amar Avasi. So the Rashbam says, Apal Gav du Kimna Ledivrei Hakol De'ena Bachar Notel Pishnayim B'Shevach She'eshbichu Yisomim La'achar Misa Savihem. So we'll say, remember, even though we spoke about before that the Bachar goes ahead, or the Bachar does not go ahead and take advantage or get Pishnayim double portion in appreciation that occurs to the estate after the death of the father. Miyu imicha va'amar al tashbichu chalki ela nachlok miyad v'ashbiach ani chalokim sheli ve'etol kol shivchon svehinis yaishu milachlok v'yashbichu hanechasim hare micha bahen v'yital pishtaim. So listen to this case. So here's what we know. What we know is that father dies before he gets pishnayim. The halacha is that if there's any appreciation in the estate, meaning let's say the brothers go ahead and improve the estate. The Bachar doesn't share in the pishnayim of the improvements made by the brothers. The only improvements he gets pishnayim in are what kind of improvements? Improvements that occur on their own. Right? So we'll say, so the Rav Huna is saying in Rav Basra the following situation. So let's say father dies, brothers inherit the estate, brothers want to improve the estate. Oldest brother, Bachar says, no, I don't want you to improve the estate. So let's split it up. Let me take my portions and let me improve my portion on my own. I don't want you doing anything to my chelik. But despite his protestation, come in. Right? Despite his protestation, despite the fact that he's protesting, the brothers still go ahead and divide up the estate. And ultimately, again, or I should say differently, the brothers still go ahead and improve the estate. The halacha is his macha is a valid macha. Now, both say, what does it mean his macha is a valid macha? His objection is a valid objection. It means that he gets pishnayim, and he gets pishnayim even in what? Even in the improvements. So both say, so the chap over here is that since he went ahead and he objected to the improvement of the estate, and the brothers ignored his protest, he has the right to share in all of the improvements and get pishnayim in the improvements as well. So the Gemara says the following: Amar Rabba says, "Kuf Chavav 126a, second line from the top." So Amar Rabba says, "Mistaner Taimat Ravasi va'anavim ubatrum zeisim umaskum." So it comes along Rabba. Rabba says it would seem to be that the logic of this statement of Rav Huna, the name of Ravasi, applies when the brothers harvested the grapes or harvested the olives. In other words, brothers said, do me a favor, don't go ahead and do anything to the estate. This is oldest brother, Bachar. Don't do anything to the estate. Let's just divide up our estate and each of us will improve our own lots. Now, what did Rav Huna say? Rav Huna said that the brothers ignored the protest of the Bachar and instead they improved the estate. The Bachar shares pishnayim in those improvements. Says Rabbah, what type of improvements are we talking about? That would be like if the brothers harvested the grapes or harvested the olives. Aval darko, we'll say, let's say the brothers went ahead and harvested the grapes, and what? They crushed the grapes. In order to make it into wine. Low. Then in that case, I will say, the Bachar would not share and would not get pishnayim in the improvement of the grapes. Now, what's the pshat here? So take a look at the Rashbam for just a moment. The Rashbam says it's Amar Rabba, Aval Darkum. So it's 4 lines in, actually in the wide lines. Amanas liskos bahen b'shevach drich. We'll say if the other brothers took the grapes that they inherited from their father, and before they divided up the estate, they crushed the grapes, ultimately making it into wine, or beginning to make it into wine, thereby improving the grapes. So Rabba suggests in that case, the Bachar would not get pishnayim in the improvements. So just to understand what's happening over here. Under normal circumstances, what do we say? What's the halacha? Father dies, Bachar gets a double portion. Okay? What happens if property appreciates after the death of the father, but before the division of the estate? So what do we normally say? Does Bachar share in that? It depends. What does it depend on? If the improvement happened on its own, the Bachar shares in that. If the other brothers improve the estate, the Bachar does not share in that. However, what happens if the brothers are about to improve the estate and Bachar says, stop, I don't want you to do this. I'd like us to divide up our portions and let's all improve our respective portions. So if he lodged a protestation, is that the right word, protestation? Excellent. If he lodged a protestation and the brothers ignored that protest, the brothers ignored that, and they improve the estate. So Rav Huna says the Bechor gets Pi Shnayim in that improvement. Rabbah comes along to qualify that statement. What type of improvement are we talking about? But as I sent you, what Rabbah is saying is it applies to an improvement that doesn't change the state of the object. So if the brothers picked the olives, harvested the olives, or harvested the grapes, thereby improving the product, but the product is still the very same product. Using Waze, you're already here. You made it. You've arrived. Baruch Hashem. So again, Lamaisa, the Gemara is saying, if the identity of the product has remained the same, so it has not changed at all, then what? That's when the Bechor goes ahead and shares in the Pi Shnayim. But however, let's say the brothers took the grapes or took the olives and they crushed it. So what happens if they crushed it? They changed the form of the object. We'll say, what happens when you take something that does not belong to you and you change the form of the object? We'll say that's called theft. The moment that you go ahead and you steal something, right? Other brothers change the form of the object. They have effectively stolen the Bechor's piece. They've stolen the Bechor's portion. Now, remember again from our Bava Mitzia days and our Bava Kama days, the halacha with theft is the value of the stolen item is determined as of when? At the time of the theft. Therefore, again, comes along Rabbah and says that if the other brothers took the grapes, the other brothers took the olives, and they crushed them, thereby changing the form, there's a quasi-theft that has occurred, which means now that oldest brother does not share any of the improvements. Instead, they owe him the value of the grapes at the time, or the olives for that matter, at the time that they were crushed. Look at the Rashban for just a moment. The Rashban says about Darkum, Amanas Liskos behind. If the other brothers went ahead and crushed the grapes, the Bechor does not get Pi Shnayim, and that's why. Kedisnan hagozel eitzim va'asa and kelim mishalim kishas hakizela dekanye b'shinui. Because we'll say ultimately at the end of the day, when you steal something and you change the form of that object, ultimately you acquire the object. Hachanami kaninu yasmi lahani anavim b'shinui. Ultimately, again, I will say, when the Yisomim, the other brothers, changed the forms of the grapes and the olives, they acquired it. So says the Gemara. Aval darkum lo. Rav Yosef, back up to the top to the Gemara. We'll say 4 lines in. Rav Yosef says, no, afilu darkum. Right? It's not true. Even if the brothers went ahead and crushed the grapes or crushed the olives, the Bechor still, well, at least you think what Rav Yosef is saying is, the Bechor still shares in the Pi Shnayim of the appreciation. To which the Gemara says, how can that be? Darkum meikara invi hashta chamra. How could it be that the Bechor shares in the Pi Shnayim of the grapes once they've been pressed, once they've been crushed, or the olives once they've been crushed? It's a fundamentally different object. When the oldest brother inherited it, it was grapes. Now the other brothers have changed its state, ultimately again into wine or into olive oil. Why should the Bechor be able to take Pi Shnayim in that? To which the Gemara says, Kidam Ravokva. The Gemara says, you're right. Rather, this Gemara is reflecting the view of Ravokva, Barchama, Litin lo demei hezek anavav. It means the Bechor is entitled to the damages. We're going to define what that means in just a moment. Hachanami, no silo demei hezek anavav. Just bless you. Just like Rav Ukva said, that the Bechor is entitled to share in the damages, so too over here is entitled to share in the damages. We'll say, what does that mean? Watch this. So the Gemara says, where exactly did Rav Ukva bar Abba say his particular statement? Aha. Dam Rav Yehuda Mar Shmuel. We'll say, listen to this. Bechar upashet sheniach lohen avien anavim ubatru. Supposed to listen to this. If you have 2 brothers, a Bechor and a Pashat, one is the Bechor, one is the firstborn, one is a regular brother, and what happens? The father left them anavim, left them grapes. Ubatrum, and the brothers went ahead and harvested the grapes. Zeisim umaskum, and they harvested the olives and crushed the olives into oil. Bechor notel Pi Shnayim. Ultimately, again, the Bechor goes down and takes Pi Shnayim. Afilu darkum. So this is true, Rabbi, even if what? So in this case over here, it's the same idea. The other brother, the younger brother, is going ahead and taking the grapes. He's acting unilaterally. So the Gemara says if he takes the grapes and he harvests them, the olives and he harvests them, the Bechor gets to share Pi Shnayim. But then the Gemara says, even if the other brother went ahead and what? Crushed the grapes, crushed the olives, nevertheless the Bechor gets to take Pishnayim ultimately in the appreciated object, which is the wine and the oil. Says the Gemara, how could that be? Darko meikara in the hashtachamra. I don't understand. I will say, anytime you take something and you change the state, that is effectively a case of theft. Once you've stolen the object, then what? You owe the person you stole from the value of the object, but the value of that object is determined as of when? Is determined as of the time that you actually stole the object. To which the Gemara says, Amar Mar Ukva Bar Chamo Litin Lo Demei Hezek Anova. So also listen to this. Comes along the Gemara and explains the following. Now what's happening over here is like this. In fact, there is no machlokes in the Gemara between Rav Yosef and Rav Asi. But rather what they are both saying is the same, which is halacha l'maisa. If one of the brothers, so let's go back to what we know. Let's put this, well, before we go back to what we know. In this case over here, if one of the brothers or the other brothers besides the Bechor decide to go ahead and harvest the grapes or harvest the olives on their own, and the item appreciates, so the Bechor shares in that appreciation. This is assuming the case where he lodged his protest to their actions. I will say, what happens if they crush the grapes or they crush the olives? So in this case over here, at that point in time, it's considered as if the other brothers have stolen from the Bechor. Once they've stolen from the Bechor, then their liability is locked in as of when? As of the time that they actually changed the state of the item. So whatever the value of the item was at the time that they began to crush it, or that's they owe the Bechor. We'll say, so what does it mean when we say that the Bechor collects even if they pressed it? What it means is the following. We'll say, let's say after they go ahead and they crush the grapes, or they crush the olives, the price of wine goes down significantly. Or let's say again, halacha l'maisa, they end up spilling the wine and some type of contaminant enters the wine. So that the price of the appreciated product goes down. So what's the halacha in that case? I will say the halacha is the brothers still owe the Bechor the original price of the grapes before they transformed it into the wine. So we'll say, so again, if we bring this all together, what we have essentially is the following, just to show you the entire continuum. The halacha is, I will say, the father dies, let's call this a Bechor, we'll keep it simple. Yaakov dies, leaves behind Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. Reuven is the Bechor. The halacha is, if the property appreciates, the state of property appreciates on its own, before the estate is divided, what's the halacha? Bechor gets Pishnayim in the appreciation. If the Yisomim, let's say Shimon and Levi, decide to work on the estate, appreciate the estate on their own, what's the halacha? Reuven does not share in that appreciation. Let's say Shimon and Levi say, we want to go ahead and improve the estate. And Reuven says, no, I'm asking you not to do it. I'd like us to divide up the estate and let's all improve our own portions. Shimon and Levi ignore the protest of their older brother, of the Bechor, and go ahead and improve the property. What's the halacha? Reuven gets Pishnayim in the appreciation. However, Abosai, if Shimon and Levi do something that fundamentally changes the identity of the estate property, for example, this is just the simplest case, right? Yaakov died and he left behind the vineyard, right? And then what happens? Shimon and Levi come along and what do? Abosai? They go out and they take the grapes, they crush it, they make it into wine, they make it into olive oil. Then what's the halacha? I will say at that point in time, once they change the state of the item, it's as if they've committed an act of theft against their older brother. Therefore, what do they owe the older brother? They owe him the value of his portion at the time that they changed the state of the object. And the novelty of Mar Ukva is that even though initially they transformed the grapes into something that was worth more money, even if the wine ultimately goes in and depreciates in value, they are chayiv to the Bechor the value of the item in its initial state. In other words, they can't pay out the Bechor in accordance with the value of the depreciated estate. Rather, they must pay him in accordance with the value of the object before they changed its state.
Does he get on top of that the Pishnayim of what he would have had he not touched it? In other words, they take it and then they... Yes. This is a knas.
Well, it's not a knas. It's what it's saying is his interest is locked in at the time that they change the state. That's just general halacha. Meaning, if I steal from you and I change the object, I'm chayiv to you the amount that the object was before I changed it. They stole his pishnayim, so they transformed it. Therefore, they're chayiv to give him that amount as it was before they transformed it.
If it's sold at a very high price, you still get transformed.
Correct.
He loses.
If the price of wine skyrockets,
right,
he does not get to share in that appreciation. That is correct. Says the Gemara, Rav Asi. Suppose to listen to this case. This is actually very interesting. So Rav Asi says the following. Means the following situation. So a brother goes ahead, same case. Yaakov dies, leaves behind Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. And what happens? Reuven just takes a regular portion by the side by side with his brothers. In other words, he does not claim pishnai. He does not claim his double portion. Rather, so we'll say, so what's the halacha? Now, viter. So it's clear that Reuven has been mevater. Reuven has yielded his right as a bachar. Okay, so the Gemara says, okay, what does that mean? My viter. We'll say, now remember again, let's say for argument's sake, what's happening over here is the following. Yaakov died, and let's say Yaakov left behind 4 parcels of land, right, to 3 sons, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. So what happens? They're dividing up parcel by parcel. So that's not normally how you would do it, but let's say that's how they're doing it. What happens? Reuven now is dividing up parcel one with his brothers, and Reuven just takes a regular share. He doesn't ask for pishnayim, he just takes a regular share in that field. So the Gemara says, Rav Asi says, the fact that he didn't ask for pishnayim indicates to us what? That he was mevater. He yielded that extra portion that is entitled to him as a bachar. So the Gemara says, my viter, what does that mean? So that Papa Mishmei de Rava Amar viter ba'osa sada. So Rabbi Papa says what it means is he yielded his pishnayim right just where? In that field. But he reserves the right to exercise his pishnayim where? In every other part of the estate. Rav Papi Mishmei de Rava Amar viter bechol hanechasim kulon. Whereas Rav Papi says no. We'll say the moment that Reuven does not take his pishnayim right in one of the fields, he has effectively what? Yielded that right in all of the fields. So we'll say here this fantastic fundamental machlokas. So in this case over here, Reuven's just yielding his right over here in one field. The shaila is, do we look at that yielding in one field as a yielding of all of his pishnayim rights, or just the yielding in that particular field? So machlokas Rav Papa and Rav Papi. Rav Papa says the yielding is just, the vatronos is just in this field. Rav Papi says no. Once you yield your right in a field, you effectively yielded your entire pishnayim right. So the Gemara says the following: Kasavar Rav Papa Mishmei de Rava Amar Vita Ba'usa Sada. So Rav Papa, the name of Rava, said that when he yields the right in the field, he's only yielding his bachar right in that one field. Kasavar ein lo lebachar kodim chaluka. I will say because Rav Papa is of the opinion that a bachar only gets his pishnayim right when he actually inherits the property. In other words, there is no pre-existing right to pishnayim that he has before the father dies. So he only gets his pishnayim right when the father dies. Kodim chaluka. I should say that differently. Kasavar ein lo lebachar kodim chaluka. It's not the father dying. He only has his pishnayim right when the property is divided. Umad asa liyadei achil idach lo achil. So let's listen to this. What Rav Papa essentially is saying is the following: when does the pishnayim right kick in? When does that right kick in? As they are dividing up the estate. So meaning, as they come to divide up each part of the estate, that's when his pishnayim right kicks in. Therefore, Rabbi say the only thing he has the right to yield is what? Pishnayim right in the very parcel that is being divided. But for other parts of the estate that have not yet been divided, he does not yet have the pishnayim right. Because he does not yet have the pishnayim right, therefore what? You cannot yield that which you do not yet have. Therefore, Rav Papa says, when he goes ahead and they're dividing up field A, he has the right to yield the pishnayim right in field A. But he does not yet have the pishnayim right in fields B, C, and D, because that right only kicks in at the time of the actual division. Rav Papi, on the other hand, says, Rav Papi Mishnei de Rava Amar Viter b'chol hanechasim kulan. Rav Papi, on the other hand, holds that no, when the bachar goes ahead and yields the right in field A, then what? He's effectively yielded the pishnayim right in all of the other fields. Why? Kasavar yesh lo lebachar kodem chaluka. Ultimately, again, I will say the moment that the father dies, what does the Bechor have? The Bechor has the right of Pishnayim in everything. And therefore what? Once the Bechor yields his right in field A, he has effectively what? Yielded his right in all of the fields. So we'll say, the Rashbam discusses this as well. If you just take a quick look, the Rashbam says, "Kasavra eno lebechor, chelek bechor lo laseis lo limkar kodim chaluka, kedechsiv laseis." So we'll say, according to Rav Papa, Rav Papa holds, we'll say that the right of Pishnayim is what we'll call a parcel-specific right. Meaning, when the father dies, the Bechor doesn't get some magical right of Pishnayim. It is a real estate right that when you are dividing up property, the Bechor is entitled to a double portion in each parcel that is being divided. So as they divide up the estate, the Bechor has Pishnayim in each of those parcels. But again, that right only comes at the time of division. Therefore, if the Bechor gives up the right to Pishnayim in a particular parcel, all he's yielding is what? That right in that parcel. But his ability or his right to collect Pishnayim in other parcels is not at all compromised. That's the first. If you look at the next Rasham, Yeshua lebechar kodim chaluka, va'af agav dechelik pashat ein lo dak siv lasis mishash shnei sa'av u'loi litin lo hilcha bebechar tayim elsa to b'shah sheyirtze yiska bechelko u'kidaminu lehel bechar shemicha micha de'ilchach yish biyad l'kwach limchol kol shah sheyirtze dahainu davar shabali olam. So we'll say this is amazing. As we're going to see, according to Rav Papi Rabosai, the right to Pishnayim might be something that a Bechor has even when father dies, even before his father dies, but at least for sure after his father dies, even before the property is divided up. And therefore, again, if the Bechor goes there, therefore, because that right exists, even prior to property division, if the Bechor decides to what? To go ahead and yield that right, not only has he yielded that right in the parcel they are discussing, but he's yielded that right where? Where? In the entire estate. So we'll say this is a fundamental machlokas, but it's really a fundamental machlokas about the nature of is Pishnayim is a double portion of the Bechor, what we'll call a parcel-specific right, that ultimately, again, meaning in every piece of property that they divide, the Bechor has the right to exercise his Pishnayim. Right, is it a parcel-specific right, or is it an overarching entitlement triggered by the death of the father? Both say the nafkamina, the practical difference between that is, if the Bechor gives up his right to Pishnayim in one parcel, does he give up the right to Pishnayim in the rest of the estate? If you hold that Pishnayim is a parcel-specific right, then yielding that right in one parcel does not automatically give up the right in all of the parcels. If you hold, however, that Pishnayim is an overarching right, then it could very well be that the moment he goes ahead and gives it up in one parcel, he's effectively given up the right. So we'll say, look what the Gemara says. Let's just finish this. Papa, lav befeirish. So we'll say, let's flush this out. Let's flush this out a little bit because you have to understand these shitos. Papa, lav befeirish itmar ela michlala itmar. So we'll say, listen to this. Ultimately, these positions of Rav Papi and Rav Papa were not said explicitly. Rather, again, michlala itmar. They were gleaned from an episode. I will say, what happened? So the Gemara says, the Hubachar. Let's listen to this case. Let's listen to this case. Second wide line, Kufcha Bava Medalef. Dahi Bachar. The Azil Zabin Michse Dido Ude Pashit. Let's listen to this. Father dies. Yaakov dies. Two brothers, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven's the Bachar. Reuven went ahead and unilaterally sold all of the estate property. He sold his property and he sold the property of his younger brother. Obviously, we'll say illegally. Azil Yasmi B'nei Pasha. So what happens? We'll say Shimon, the younger brother, dies. Shimon's children. What happens? Azil Yasmi B'nei Pashut the Mechol Tamri Mehana Lukuchos. So what happens? The children of Shimon go ahead and show up at the house of the people who bought the property from Reuven. And they say, the children of Shimon say, we have a right to go ahead and eat the dates of these trees, right? This is our deceased father's property that our uncle, our father's older brother, sold illegally. So the Yisomim of the deceased younger brother now show up at the home of the purchasers to go ahead and partake of the dates of the treat that the uncle, the Bechor of the deceased grandfather, sold illegally, thereby depriving their father, the younger brother, of his inheritance. Good. Says the Gemara, Machnu. So what happens? I will say, the people who bought the date palms from the older brother began hitting the Yisomim, the children of the younger deceased brother. Now, I will say, now in all fairness, they were hitting them. It's never good, you can't hit anyone. But they were hitting them because they felt that these Yisomim were stealing from them. Right? They felt that they bought this property fair and square from the Bechor. Whether they knew about what the Bechor did, what the Bechor didn't do, the Gemara doesn't tell us. But Lamaisa, again, they started hitting the Yisomim. Get out of our property. So Amr Krovim. So we'll say the relatives of the Yisomim came along, and they say to the people who bought the date palms, Lo mistaya dizavsinu lenechasayu. It's bad enough that you bought illegal property, meaning it's bad enough that you entered into an illegal sale with the Bechor. Now you're hitting Yisomim. What's the matter with you? So obviously the people who bought the property probably had absolutely no idea what it is that has occurred. Meaning, I would say they figured they were just buying it from the Bechor. They didn't realize that the Bechor sold inheritance property of his younger brother without consulting him. So what happens? So we'll say they came before Rava. They came to Beis Din. Rava tell us what to do. Rava said to the purchasers, Lo asa v'lo klum. So lo asa v'lo klum. I will say now, before you turn the page, look at the last Rashbam. Lo asa mamshal, last few words on the page. Ha-bechor v'lo klum b'mechirazu. So we'll say, Rava paskins that the sale of the Bechor was illegal and therefore meaningless. Lo asa v'lo klum, which I will say, Rava was effectively saying to the purchasers, you have to get your money back because again, the Bechor did something that was illegal. He was not allowed to sell this property. Now, we'll say, now watch this. I'm a base. So we'll say, comes along the Gemara and says, now, what does it mean? Now they have a machlokes as to what Rava meant when he said lo asa v'lo klum. What did it mean when he said that the sale was meaningless? What does that mean? Mar savar. So we'll say, Rav Papi felt lo asa v'lo klum bipalga. What it meant was that the brother's selling of his portion was illegal. Look at the Rashbam. Lo asa v'lo klum. Lo asa klum b'palga. B'chelik p'shituso. B'chol shekin b'chelik pashat echav or achiv. Ava b'chelik b'chora yafa nachar. The yeshol lebechar kodim chaluka. So we'll say that Papi holds like this. That when Rav says lo asa v'lo klum, what that means is the following. That which the older brother, we'll call him Reuven. The fact that Reuven sold Shimon's portion, we'll say, what's the status of that sale? Illegal and therefore void. The idea that Reuven sold his own portion, what we call his chilik pashit, his own portion, also illegal and void because he can't sell his portion without dividing the estate. However, there is one part of the sale that does stand, I will say. What's the part of the sale that does stand? His pishnayim. His additional Bechor portion does stand. Why? Because I will say Rav Papi is of the opinion that what? That Yesh al Bechor, what was his Lashon? His Lashon was, give me 1 second, his Lashon was Yesh al Bechor kodim chaluka. That as soon as the father dies, a Bechor has his Pishnayim portion. A Bechor has that portion, that is his. And that is his even before the division of the estate. Therefore, I will say the way Rav Papi understands the Psak Halacha of Rava is that which the Bechor sold, his younger brother's portion, obviously illegal. That which the Bechor sold, his what we call his Pashut portion, his regular portion is illegal. But that which the Bechor sold, his Bechora, his Pishnayim portion, that part of the sale in fact stands. On the other hand, Marsa, I will say Rav Papa holds Bekulu. Rav Papa holds that no, that's what Rava meant to say is that Lamaisa, the entire sale is void. Even what? Even his Pishnayim portion. Why? Because Rav Papa holds that Ein lebechar kodim chaluka. That the Bechor's right of Pishnayim Avosa is triggered when? Is only triggered at the time ultimately of the actual division of the property. Shalchu mitam. So we'll say they sent from there. Bechor shemachar kodim chaluka lo asav lo klum. So we'll say, so they sent the halacha forward. That was that a Bechor goes ahead and sells his Pishnayim portion before the estate is before the estate is divided, lo asav lo klum. Such a division ultimately is meaningless, and therefore the sale is void. Alma, Rabbi said, what do you see? The both say you see ultimately that what? That halacha l'maisa, a bechor does not have pishnayim before the estate is divided. Now both say says the Gemara v'hilchasa. So both say despite that conclusion, the Gemara says, but that's not the halacha. The halacha is v'hilchasa. Yesh lo l'bechor kol din chalukah. Now both say the halacha is that a bechor ultimately has his pishnayim entitlement even before the division of the estate. Take a look at the Rashbam for just a moment. V'hilchasa. Yesh lo l'bechor kol din chalukah. It also it's in the Rashbam, third line down from the top. V'machar o machal o not o chelik echad kabasha. So we'll say. So again, just to understand. So what does this mean? So a bechor, we'll say, has his pishnayim entitlement even before the division of the estate. Even before the property is divided, he has that right. We'll say. So what does that mean? What that means is if he sells that right, that is a valid sale. But we'll say for our purposes, what that tells us is the following. Remember how this whole thing started? How do we get into this whole mess over here? We'll say we got into this whole mess because we have Yaakov died, left behind 3 sons, Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. They're dividing up the estate parcel by parcel. They get up to the first parcel, and what happens? Reuven the Bechar, says it's okay, I don't need Pishnayim over here. So remember again, that triggered our discussion. What's the discussion? Does his yielding of the Pishnayim right in parcel A also give up his right for the rest of the estate? And Rabbi said the answer to that is yes. The halacha Rabbi say is that once a bechor yields his rights to pishnayim in one of the parcels, he has effectively yielded his rights of pishnayim in the entire estate. Look at the Rashbam again one more time. Therefore, if he sells his pishnayim right, or he's mochel on his pishnayim right, or he goes ahead and what? He takes one portion like a regular brother. Viter b'chol hanechasim. Ultimately, he has yielded his pishnayim right in its entirety. Mishum dematana kari rachmana u'mishemes av nituna lebechor. So pishnayim is called the matana, and that matana ultimately is given to the oldest brother the moment the father dies. So this is really very interesting because had we not had this sugya, I think most of us would have assumed that the right of pishnayim is a din in property division, and therefore when is that right triggered? That right is triggered when the brothers go ahead and divide up the estate, and therefore I would have thought that that right is really parcel specific. That every part that they divide up, part of that division is pishnayim. Kamash on the Gemara says no, that the right of pishnayim is a right that is triggered upon the death of the father, and because it is a right that is not parcel specific, the moment the older brother yields that right in some way with one of the parcels, that tells us that what? He has yielded the right in its entirety. The post can bring down it's obvious. If the brother goes ahead and says, he specifically says, I don't need pishnayim in parcel A, but here you, I'm not yielding my rights in the rest of the estate, then obviously that statement stands. But in the absence of such a statement, once he yields the pishnayim right in one of the parcels, the halacha is he's yielded in all of them. And I will say for us, this teaches us an incredible yisod, that the din of pishnayim is triggered upon the death of the father, even before the estate is divided. Good, says the Mishnah. Ha'omer ishpon. So listen to this. This is actually very important because we're going to get now a little bit into kind of the underpinnings of halachic estate planning. So look what the Mishnah says, because once I understand, up until now, we have been focusing on Yerusha. What happens? Father dies. Ultimately, Bechar, firstborn, gets pishnayim, gets a double portion. Again, we still have sons, daughters. Watch this. Homer, ish ploni b'ni Bechar, lo yito pishnayim. Well, so let's say a father says, so-and-so my Bechar, I don't want him taking a double portion of my estate. Or ish ploni b'ni, lo yirash im achav. Or one of my sons, I don't want him inheriting with his brother. So we'll say, essentially what the man is saying over here is, he's saying, I don't want my Bechar to inherit pishnayim, or I'm disinheriting one of my sons. I don't want my sons to inherit with the rest of my children. What's the halacha say? Lo amar klum. Such a statement is absolutely meaningless. Why? Shehisna amash shakasav batorah. Because Rabbi say he has made it tonight, he's made a condition that runs contrary to Torah law. And what's the halacha when you make a Tanai that runs contrary to Torah law? The Tanai is batal. Tanai is batal. Anytime, again, this is not unique by inheritance, by estate law. This is in general. Whenever you make a Tanai that runs contrary to Torah law, the Tanai itself is batal. So you want to say your firstborn is not going to inherit a double portion? Well, guess what? God says he does. You want to say your son's not going to inherit? God says he does. So it's your word against God's word, and guess what? God's word wins. God's word wins. Says the Rabbi say, watch this. Hamachalik nechasav al piv. I will say now, watch this. Someone is dividing up his estate by mouth. Now, what does this mean? Now, the Rashbam points out over here, Hamachalik nechasav al piv. Ditzavos shchiv meira eno tzricha kinyan v'lo shtar v'lo mashicha ela b'dibur peh ba'alma kegon shemitzave machmas misa. So we'll say the case over here is where man is on his deathbed. Although we're going to see this doesn't have to be on his deathbed. What's happening over here is, but a man is on his deathbed. He's gifting his property to his children. So we'll say in this case over here, this is before he dies. Obviously, he's gifting his property to his children. And what does he do? Hamechalik nechasav al piv. Riba la'echad u'miyet la'echad. So let's say the man has 3 sons, and he decides to give the second son more than the bachar, right? Or for that matter, again, he has 3 sons and a daughter, and he decides to go ahead and give his daughter property and not his sons. I mean, he's gifting this. Or v'hishva lahenes habachar. Or for that matter, he has 3 sons, and he decides to one of them is a bachar, but he decides to divide up his estate equally 3 ways. We'll say, what's the halacha? Devarav kayamin. The both say his words ultimately stand. Why do his words stand? Look at the Rashbam, almost right across the Rashbam. Dvar Kayamin, sheyesh koach ba'adam litin mamona b'matana l'chol mi sheyirtzeh. The both say when you are alive, you have the right to gift your property to whoever you want. Meaning the laws of Yerusha only apply when you die, right? When a person dies, then there's biblical inheritance law that kicks in. But when you are alive, you have the right to gift your property however you want and to whomever you want. Look at the Rashbam again. You can give your money as a gift to anyone you want. Listen to this. So the Gemara essentially saying is the following. You could have a shchiv mirach, you could have a guy who's on his deathbed, and listen, this father decides, I want my children to share equally, or I want my sons to share equally, or I want my daughter to get a portion just like my sons. So we'll say, how do you do it in a totally halakhic sanctioned manner? You gift it. So the shchimera, while he's on his deathbed, gifts all of his property to his children, in equal shares, or however he wants to divide it. The point is, he's allowed to gift it however he wants. Now, what may end up happening is the following: that by the time he dies, what is left in his estate? Nothing, which is fine. I will say, you don't have to die with money in your estate. No mitzvah to have money in your estate. So by the time he dies, there's no money in his estate, which means that then Yerusha, the laws of Yerusha do not govern any property disbursements. Why? Because there's no property to be dispersed. I will say again, this you can still speak to Rebecca about this, right? But again, this is the most classic case of halachic will, of halachic asset disbursement. That essentially what you do is you do a matna shchimira, which is a gift that is retroactively chal 1 moment before you die. And a person could go ahead and disperse all of their assets however they want. I just want to point out, remember, there's a very important distinction. If a person goes ahead and leaves in a will to disperse their assets in a way that runs contrary to Torah law, that is halachically problematic. Again, it's not saying it doesn't work, but it is halachically problematic according to many, because you are dispersing your assets not kederach haTorah. So there's a very easy halachic mechanism where essentially instead of dispersing your assets as Yerusha, you disperse it as a pre-death gift. And if you do that, you have the right to disperse it to whoever you want. And it says the Gemara. However, Bim Amar Mishum Yerusha, we're supposed to listen to this. But if the father, while he's on his deathbed, says, I'm giving you this amount, this is your Yerusha, this is your Yerusha, this is your Yerusha, then what? Lo Amar Klum. See, the chap over here is you have to frame it as a gift. The moment you start framing it as Yerusha, as inheritance, that's where it's problematic, because then you are stipulating contrary to Torah law. However, kasav bein betchila, bein be'emtza, bein besof, mishum matana. And we'll say, however, the Mishnah says, if let's say you are dividing this up with a document. In other words, even though a shchid meira does not have to use a document, let's say the shchid meira decides to go ahead and put this in writing. So even if he uses the word Yerusha, as long as the word matana appears in the document, in the beginning, in the end, in the middle of the document, meaning as long as the word matana is in writing, even if the father ended up using the words Yerusha, the gift still stands, the disbursement is still good, and Shalom Yisrael. Says the Gemara, we'll say our Mishnah apparently does not reflect the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Why? I will remember again, this is specifically referring to the first part of the Mishnah. Because what did the Mishnah say in the beginning? A father goes out and says, I do not want my Bechor to get Pishnayim. I want all of my sons to divide up my estate equally. Or, I do not want one of my sons to inherit. So what did the Mishnah pass? We'll say, what's the status of just such a statement like that? What's the status? It's void. The statement is void. It's as if it doesn't exist. So our Mishnah just says, the Gemara just says, it must be that the Mishnah does not reflect the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Di Rabbi Yehuda ha'amar b'davar shel mamon t'nel kain. We'll say, watch this. It's actually very interesting. Everyone agrees that when you make a Tanai that runs contrary to Torah law, the Tanai is batal. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi said that there is one exception to that rule when it comes to monetary matters. When it comes to monetary matters, if you make a Tanai that runs contrary to Torah law, that Tanai could still stand. And we'll say, what's the case of Rabbi Yehuda? Watch this. Tisanya. Ha'omer li'isha. If a man says to a woman, Hari'at mikudeshes li, amanas she'in lach alai, sher ksus va'ona. So a man says to a woman, become mikudeshes to me on the condition that you have no claim for share ksus and ona. Now, leaving aside ona right now, but you have no claim against me for food and for clothing. What's the halacha? Oh, we'll include the ona. Harei mikudeshes. So the kiddushin is good. Utno batal to Rameir. Rameir says, we'll say the Tanai is good. Excuse me, the kiddushin is good, and the Tanai is batal. Well, so why is the Tanai batal? Because midoraisa, a man is obligated to his wife in share clothing or share food, ksus clothing, and ona physical intimacy. So if a man goes out and says, I'm angry in the condition that I have none of these obligations towards you, so we say that's ridiculous. The Tanai is batal, but the kiddushin stands. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says, but davar shamamam to no kain. Let's listen to this. Rabbi Yehuda says that the Tanai legabe ona is batal, but the Tanai legabe share and ksus stands. Stands that if a husband is mekadesh his wife and he says, you have no claim against me for food and clothing, ultimately, again, not only is the kiddushin good, but that Tanai is good as well. So we'll say, what do you see from here? You see from here that according to Rabbi Yehuda, you could be masna amash shakasa Torah. You could make a Tanai that runs contrary to Torah law in financial matters, still stands. So our Mishnah obviously does not reflect the view of Rabbi Yehuda. To which the Gemara says no. Rabbi Yehuda. No, our Mishnah can even reflect the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Why? We'll say hasam yada v'kamachla. So we'll say no. Rabbi Yehuda holds that because in a case where Reuven goes over to Rachel, Reuven says, Rachel, hari'at nikudesh asli, amanas she'in lach alai sher ksus. So we'll say what happens? There's another party involved over here, Rachel, and Rachel agrees to marry Reuven and release him from those responsibilities. So if she's mochel, those are her entitlements. If she's mochel on those entitlements, we'll say she's independently wealthy. She doesn't need his money. So if she ultimately is mochel on those entitlements, that's when Rabbi Yehuda says, okay, so therefore, again, if she's mocheles, I should say, then that's why the Tanai is good. Hacha lo kamachil. They're both saying, in this case over here, the father is saying, Bechar doesn't get Pishnayim. The Bechar wasn't mochel in his Pishnayim. But I will say, for that matter, again, he said, Shimon, you're not inheriting with your brothers Reuven and Levi. Shimon wasn't mochel. So we'll say, even Rabbi Yehuda would agree that in a case like this of the Mishnah, where the person who is losing the right is not mochel on that right. So we'll say, what the Gemara is saying over here, when Rabbi Yehuda says that if you're masna masha kasa batorah, to know kain b'davar mamon, then when it comes to financial matters, if you make a Tanai that runs contrary to Torah law, the Tanai is binding, and the Tanai stands. That's when what? When the other party who's adversely impacted by the Tanai accepts the Tanai. Okay, so the wife says, fine, I'm releasing you from the responsibility for sharing ksus. Okay, the Tanai stands. But it says in this case over here, the Bechar is not being mochel on his Pishnayim, Shimon is not being mochel on Yezrusha. See, even Rabbi Yehuda would agree that the Tanai does not work. The Tanai is batal. The Bechar gets his Pishnayim, Shimon gets his Yerusha. Amar Rabbi Yosef. Let's listen to this case. Amar Ish Boni B'nei Bechoriu. So let's listen to this. Now we're going to get into an interesting discussion about how you know a Bechar is a Bechar. Let's both say, Obviously, if a family is known in a particular community for a very long time and people know the mishpacha, so that's one thing. I will say, but let's say you have a situation where the family is not really well known. Father dies. So how do you know who's the bachor, who's not the bachor? So listen to this. Someone of Yosef, Amar ish ploni b'nei bachori. So if a man says, while he's alive, obviously, right? Man says while he's alive, so and so b'nei bachorihu. He is my firstborn. He's my firstborn. So we'll say, so therefore again, when the father dies, based on that statement, we treat this boy that he identified as his bachor, as the bachor, therefore gets the pishnayim. However, let's say the father just said about this son, ish ploni bachoru. Let's say, we'll say during his lifetime, the father had said about this son, oh, this guy ish ploni bachor, he's a bachor. We'll say, what's the difference between the two lashonos? Right? In the first lashon, he said b'ni bachorihu. In the second lashon, he said bachorhu. Eino notel pishnayim. We'll say we would not allow that son to take pishnayim just based on that statement. Why? Dilma buchra di ima ka'amar. Because also maybe he meant that this son is a bachar, but what kind of bachar? A bachar to his mother. In other words, because he did not use the possessive, he did not see b'nei bachorihu. He is my son. He is my son. Therefore, what? He just said b'nei bachar. It sounds like he's a bachar, but he's a bachar ultimately to his mother. So because of that, he does not, just based on that, he will not get the share in the Yerusha. Again, obviously, this is talking about a situation where we don't know this son to be the Bachar. We don't know him to be the Bachar. So based on a statement of B'ni Bachorihu, we would give that son Pishnayim. Based on a statement of Bachorhu, we would not give him Pishnayim. Next. Also listen to this. So there was a man who came before Rabbi Rachana. Amrlei. So let's watch this case. Yaakov dies. And what happens? Yaakov leaves behind 3 sons. So I'll say, so what happens? So another guy comes in. We'll just call him Guy. We'll call him Ploni. Ploni comes into base and he came before Rabbi Rachana and he said, Rabbi Rachana, I have to tell you, I know that Ruvain is the Bachar. Another Reuben's the Bachar. And we'll say, now, by the way, these type of situations could come up in a variety of different ways. Let's say the brothers are not there, Beis Din has to divide up certain assets, whatever it is. The point is, Ploni's walking into Beis Din, and Ploni, or there's a dispute amongst the brothers, ultimately, who's the Bachar. So what happens? So this guy walks into Beis Din, and he says, Ploni, says, Rabbi Rachana, I know Reuben's the Bachar. I know Reuben's the Bachar. Amrlei, Minoya Data. Where do you know? Rabbi Rachana says to Ploni, where do you know that Reuben's the Bachar? To have a karve abua buchra sichla. Because once I heard, listen to this. Once I heard the father called the son foolish Bachar. Right? You fool, you Bachar. Right? So first of all, terrible parenting. That's a different discussion, right? But again, never call your child a fool, chas v'shalom. I will say, but the idea over here is, so we'll say what is fascinating, because what Ploni is saying is, one time I heard the father call Reuven buchra sichla. Foolish Bachar. So therefore, again, I heard, in other words, I'll say the point over here is I heard him call him a Bachar. So therefore, again, I have testimony therefore that he's a Bachar. To which Rabbi Bar Chana said, Dilma Buchra di Imo. Maybe when he called him Buchra Sichla, I will say, Buchra Sichla meant that you are the firstborn of your mother. I will say, now what does that mean? Buchra di Imanami Buchra Sichla Karle, because it was common for people to call a child who was the firstborn of the mother, and not necessarily the firstborn of the father, a buchra sichla. I will say, why would you call the bachar of the mother, not the bachar of the mother, a foolish bachar? It's actually very interesting. Take a look at the Rashbam. The Rashbam says, we'll say it's about 5 lines up from the bottom. The chol buchra di'ima buchra sichla karle is exactly 5 lines. V'lo mishum shtuso. I will say in this context, so sichla doesn't mean a fool. Rather, ela lefi she'eno bachar gomer kimo hadas shotet. We'll say, so the Gemara calls a non-fully formed hadas, a hadas shota, right? A foolish hadas. So you see that sometimes the lashon of sichla or shota is used for something that is not fully formed. So often the bachar of a mother who is not the bachar of his father was called a buchra sichla, a foolish bachar. Not, God forbid, a disparaging term about the child, but rather what did it mean? An unfully formed, right? A stunted bachar. Why is the bachar of a mother a stunted bachar? Because on one hand, you're a bachar, right? And again, that matters. For example, a child who's a bachar of the mother, we'll say, where does that matter? This, right? Pidyon ben, right? Even if it's not the bachar of the father. But yet again, it's stunted legabe Yerusha. because ultimately, again, for Yerusha purposes, for property disbursement purposes, you will not ultimately get the Pishnai. So therefore, again, I will say, Rabba Bar Chana rejected the testimony of this guy as proof that the particular child in question was in fact the Bachar. We'll say another case. We'll say first wide line, Kuf Chaf Bava Basra. Let's listen to this case. There was a man who came before Rabbi Chanina. So we'll say same case. Yaakov died, left behind a couple of sons. Ploni walks into the basin of Rabbi Chanina. He says, Rabbi, I know that Reuven is the Bachar. Amalei b'nayah that. So Rabbi Chanina says, no, where do you know that from? So Amalei, listen to this. Because ultimately, again, when people would come to the father to write to Yaakov, who's now deceased, Amar lahu zilu lagabe shichas beri. Go to my son Shichas, the buchrahu umase rukye. Go to him because he's the Bachar and his saliva works. And we'll say, what does this mean? This actually ties back into the Pirkei Avos we had yesterday. So it's actually quite amazing. So remember, it was I'll give you the Hagdama I gave yesterday, which was remember Talmudic medicine, Rabosai, is based on whatever was conventionally understood to work. In other words, when Chazal speak about medicine in the Gemara, that's not based on Torah. That's based on whatever was societally held to work. So, for example, one of the common remedies is that if a person had an eye ailment, so what happens? What cured that? Saliva. But not your own saliva, it was someone else's saliva. So often the cure for an eye ailment would be that someone spit in your eye. Now, to make it even better, it was assumed that the saliva of a Bachar was really like that was high-end. That was high-end stuff. That was like top shelf saliva. So that was considered. So listen to this. What happened? Listen to this. I will say, we laugh, but just understand, in 1,000 years from now, they'll laugh at us also, right? I'm just saying, everyone's on the cutting edge of their times. But Lamais, again, this is the way time works. So we'll say, so watch this. This is amazing. So this guy, we'll call him Ploni, comes into the basin of Rabbi Chanina. And he says, Rabbi. So remember, Yaakov died, left behind 3 sons, Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Ploni walks into the basin of Rabbi Chanina and says, Rabbi, I know that Reuven is the Bachar. So Rabbi Chanina says, no, how do you know that Reuven is the Bachar? Because one time I was standing by Yaakov, the father, now deceased father, and apparently Yaakov was well known for his ability to cure eye ailments. And Yaakov said to the guy with the eye ailment, listen, you should go to Shichcha, my son. Go to Shichcha, my son. Why? Because he's a Bachar. He's a Bachar, and therefore, again, his saliva will cure your eye ailment. So the Gemara says, 1 second. But Dilma Bachar Dima. So that's proof that what? That's proof that this boy was the Bachar. But Dilma Bachar Dima. So says, 1 second. Maybe he was a Bachar for his mother, right? Why? So again, all it says is Bachar. Gemiri Bachar da Abba Masi Rukya Bachar Dima la Masi Rukya. Was it? He had a tradition that it was Dafka the Bachar from a father whose saliva cured this eye ailment. But the saliva of the Bachar of a mother did not cure the eye ailment. I will say this would be a good testimony. This would be good proof that ultimately, again, this child was in fact the Bachar. So we'll say now we're going to get into a couple of we're going to start this. We'll stop at the end of the Yamid over here. We're going to get into a couple of situations dealing with a tumtum. So let's remember again, what's a tumtum? A tumtum is someone ultimately again who is born essentially with a membrane over the sexual organs. So we don't the reproductive organs. So we don't know if the person is male or female. So we'll say, so the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Ami, tumtum. So if you have the case of a tumtum, shenikra, where ultimately the membrane was opened, the membrane ripped, v'nimtza zachar, and it turned out that the person was male. Sa'ino notal pisha. We'll say, so this is amazing. So you have a case of a child who was born as a tumtum. However much time goes by, they don't know the gender of the child. At some point in time, the membrane is opened. It's revealed that the child or the entity is in fact male. So we'll say, what's the halacha? That child does not go ahead and get a double portion in the estate of his father. Why not? We'll listen to this to Amrakra because the pasuk says, "V'hayo haben habachor lisnia." We'll say, remember again, listen to this. The Gemara darshans the word v'haya. What's the word v'haya? Ad sheyeh ben Mishas Havia. I will say Vahaya refers to the idea that ultimately something must be in its particular state from the beginning of its existence. In order for a son ultimately to inherit the double portion, he has to have been a son from when? From the beginning, from birth, from the beginning of his existence. Vahaya haben. only if he's a ben from the beginning. But because this child, I will say, you would say, but he was, meaning the fact that the membrane was open now shows that he was a son from the beginning. No, what it means is his identity as a son must have been solidified and concretized from the time of his birth. The fact that his identity was only solidified and concretized later on, he does not get Pishnai. I will say amazing. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar, Af eno nidon keben sorah remora. Say of this situation, which is he cannot be given the treatment as a ben sorah remora. Why not? To Amar Kra, ki yira leish ben sorah umora. Because the pasuk says, I will say, if a man will have a son who is a sorah umora, we'll say same lashon of yihya ad sheyehei ben mishas haviyah. Ultimately, again, I will say he is only considered to be a son until when? Until ultimately, again, he can only be a ben sorah mora if he was solidified in his identity of a son from the beginning of his life. So we'll say we'll stop over here for today. We're going to pick up tomorrow in Hashem with some additional ramifications of the tumtum, and I will say we will circle back to the primary discussion over here of this sugya, which ultimately is the ability to gift property before one dies and to distribute one's estate in accordance with their own personal wishes. Shkaya.